Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, a Barrie car dealership becomes the first in Canada to flip to solar power in its showroom, in the shop, in its office space, everywhere. They're not until August, but there's a reason you need to be thinking now about the Barrie Public Library's annual Dragon Boat races on the waterfront. It is Advanced Care Planning Month, not something we want to talk about, but something we should talk about. We'll ease you into it. The Innisfil Wolfpack Lacrosse Club is making a comeback, looking for players to fill its teams, some as young as 3. Gilda's Club gearing up for its yearly Sunday afternoon at a private estate in Innisfil, a feel-good event. We'll tell you who the special guest is this year. We meet another of this year's Barrie Chamber of Commerce Women in Business Award winners, and a former colleague is coming back to Barrie to promote his book on mindfulness. We get the conversation started after this. This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, joined by Paul Sadlon Jr. from Sadlon Motors, obviously, and you've got some big things happening up there in North Barrie.
We sure do. Yeah, to celebrate Earth Day, we figured not a better time to flick the switch. We've decided that after a lot of work, we decided to go all solar.
What was the tipping point for this? This is a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it certainly was. But you know what? We figured that running a successful business shouldn't come at the expense of the environment. And, an opportunity came along. We teamed up with a local company called Sunflow. We believe in supporting our local community as well. And it just figured it was a great thing to do.
And this is the entire dealership, sales, service, the whole shebang?
Sales, service, and the whole whack, yeah. And, when we talk about the electric vehicles, we got a huge lineup, of course, shameless plug. We've got a huge lineup of electric vehicles, and, we don't want to take a lot of stress on the grid. And so we thought, we're going to try and go all solar and help the environment and do a good thing at the same time.
How long has this taken to get to this point? Because there'd be a lot of work that has to be done and switching things around. And
sure was. It's been several years in the making. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. My dad and I had a vision and decided to look at that, sustainability and the financial aspect as well, and thought solar really positively impacts the dealership and the community.
So you got all kinds of solar panels on the roof now?
Yeah, all sorts of them.
Any idea how many? Have you counted them?
You know what? I have not, but I've heard it takes up most of the roof. So I'm glad we had a lot of flat space up there for them.
A lot of research would have had to gone into this. I mean, you're running a lot of electricity through there, particularly in the shop area. And how did that all stretch out and work out?
You know what? That part wasn't as difficult because, of course, the solar just hooks right into our existing panels and whatnot. So, or like the electrical panels. So that wasn't too hard. I mean, there's obviously some more equipment that goes in, but for the most part, that was a pretty easy process.
Big cost up front, but I'm guessing you're looking at some savings down the road. When would that come about for you?
Oh, you know what? I think we're saving as soon as we started. When you look at the impact that it has on the environment and whatnot, and rising electricity costs and the overuse of the grid, we're just going to kind of remove ourselves from that and hopefully make a positive impact.
And is it difficult making the switch? I mean, you have to be in touch with the power company, obviously, and some things have to be switched over in that regard. Yeah,
it was very easy for me because Sunflow kind of looked after all of that with Electra. They teamed up and their engineers and their people got together, and so they kind of made it happen.
Any big surprises as you were making the switch over, things that caught you off guard?
Not particularly, no. I think we were well informed. The amount of information that we went over prior to making this decision, I don't think anything surprising popped up.
Any misconceptions about solar for large businesses that you can dispel for others who might be thinking about it?
You know what? I think everyone thinks it's going to be a really expensive endeavor, which it wasn't cheap. But looking long term, and we'll save some money on electricity. We'll also be able to give back to the grid, and give back to the environment. So I think it's good. It's a win-win all the way around.
And you're the first auto dealership in the country to do this, I hear.
Yeah, we're the first ones to do the whole dealership as all solar.
Where does this lead from here? Anywhere in particular? What else is rolling around in the back of your mind there?
Oh, we got lots of ideas. Lots of ideas.
None that you're going to share at this point.
Not at this point.
I gotcha. Paul, thanks so much for dropping by. Congratulations on this huge step, and good on you for taking it.
Thank you so much.
It's not until middle of August, but you can get Chris Vandercruz from the Barrie Public Library talking about it any time of year. The Barrie Dragon Boat Festival is coming up again, and you've been involved with it for a long, long time.
Actually, just since the beginning. So it's been a long haul. This is our 22nd annual festival, and of course, it's a prime thing for the Barrie Public Library, and it's sort of a thing that just continues all year long. We don't ever forget that we just did one. We actually are planning for the next one as soon as one's over.
Kind of like a Santa Claus parade.
That's correct. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So why is this such a big deal? It started very innocently in the beginning. You were raising money for future library branches, but it's become much bigger than that.
Yeah, and I think it's more or less because it helps a lot of the smaller groups in the community to raise money for themselves and their operating costs and everything else, as well as this year, this being the 22nd, here we are, we're going into building a new branch in Letitia Heights. And, of course, that's a highlight for us. And this sort of brings back that memory of why we started it to build Painswick originally.
It is, as I said, a huge deal. It's a dynamic thing to be there on the waterfront and watch it. I can only imagine what it's like to participate, and I think you have.
Yeah, and I don't get to participate, but I'm sort of there, sort of heading it up with my staff. And it's actually a very busy day for 3 days prior, as well as the night of and the morning of. And I think that's the hard part, is that it's very time consuming, but when you see the people there enjoying it, the camaraderie on the boats paddling through the water and just enjoying the city waterfront, I think that just makes it so much more enjoyable.
It's quite a spectacle. If you've never been, you need to go down and watch this, because it's something else.
For sure.
For sure. The reason we have you here talking about it now and not a couple of weeks before and getting everybody excited then is there are only so many openings, and you only have a few left to fill, and we wanted to let people know about that. So if they're interested, they can get a hold of you and get their boat ready.
Yes, for sure. Like you only need 20 friends to come and join, and you put in your own boat, and you look for the charity of your choice to raise money for. And don't forget, it's on Saturday, August 15th. So we do have to really start planning. We'll be on the water probably by the middle of June, and there'll be practices going out every day, as well as the Barrie Dragon Boat Club actually participates in not only our festival, but all summer long doing all kinds of different things.
Now, is this a bring-your-own-boat kind of thing, or are they provided for some who need them?
Yeah, we wouldn't expect you to bring your own boat. They're like 44 foot long and takes a big trailer. So we do have them all there. During the summer, we have 4 on the water, and then we bring 4 more for race day.
All right, so a lot of people have been involved in this before. They know what to expect. Let's talk to the people who have thought about it, maybe want to try and get a team together. What can they expect? What are they in for?
So actually, that's a great question, because realistically, even through the summer, we actually do some different lessons on beginners, and it's sponsored by Tim Hortons. And I think that's a real inspiring piece, because you can just come down, sign up for it, come down, and you're in the boat with all different people. And you get to experience the whole aspect of paddling in unison and learning what dragon boating is. And then, of course, hopefully that inspires you to either consider putting a team in, joining a team, or just coming out again to enjoy the ride on the water.
Why dragon boating? When you were deciding what you were going to do 22 years ago, why was it dragon boating that you chose?
Well, there was a few people, Ann Anderson actually was one of the beginning ones from the staff, and then there was a lot of community people that were looking at ways to be out of the box and raise money for our Painswick branch. And to me, it was sort of, here's something that actually brings vitality to the city's waterfront, Heritage Park is a beautiful park. The staff keep it so well knit and clean and beautiful flowers and everything else. And the idea is that why not enjoy the water that we have to use right here in Barrie?
So in addition to the races themselves, there are other activities on the waterfront itself.
So there's lots of different vendors. We have a lot of kids' crafts. There's the Tim Hortons craft tent. And then, of course, usually there's a lot of other groups that come. And we just sort of create crafts that are more in unison with dragon boating, as well as to keep them entertained. And I think we look back to ecology and everything else in the whole sense because we're on the waterfront, and we try and tie that in all the time.
Rain or shine, it's a fun time for everybody.
Yes, for sure.
For teams that are thinking about it and wanting to get in on it, what are the requirements? What do they need to do?
So they just need to go to our website and actually then just click the link, and it gives you all the information about how to set up a team, how much it costs, as well as what is required from you and what you need to do over the summertime prior to the race day.
All right. And the website is?
BarriePublicLibrary.ca.
Sounds good. Chris, thanks so much for coming, and thanks for putting this on every year. As I say, it's such a spectacle. It's great fun to watch. I can only imagine, as I said, what it's like to take part.
Especially, it's only one day, but it's great.
Rain or shine, you'll
That's
have
right.
a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yep.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
It's a difficult thing to do, a difficult conversation to have with loved ones, but one we should have. Advanced care planning, ensuring we get the kind of care we want as we come to the end of our lives. There's lots to think about as we hear from local Dying with Dignity spokesperson Cara Spearin. She's with Ian McLennan.
What is advanced care planning?
Yes, good question. Advanced care planning is actually a process. So it's like a 3-step process. And the point of it and why we do it is because one simple thing, making sure your voice is heard even when you cannot speak for yourself. So we go through this phase of planning, same as if you were going to plan a backyard renovation. You would first think about what you would want. You would talk to someone, share some ideas, and then you would write it down and you would share those ideas with your team who's going to help you build. Same with advanced care planning. So first we're going to think about what is important to us, what matters, what our values and beliefs are, and what we want future healthcare for ourselves to look like. Next, we're going to write and document down those ideas, and then we're going to share them. We're going to share them with our healthcare team and our substitute decision maker. So a substitute decision maker, that's someone that you're going to choose to have as your number one backup person you're going to defer to. So if at any point you can't speak for yourself, your advanced care plan is going to be the point of reference. Your family's going to go to it, and they're going to know concretely what your choices are, what matters, and what's important, so they don't have to guess when making decisions for your future healthcare plans.
Is it safe to say that a lot of people, when they think about advanced care planning, they might suggest that, well, that's something that seniors need to take care of, and
Sure.
It doesn't apply to me. Is it all ages, so to speak, or how does it work?
Exactly. Yes, it's all ages. And the younger you are, the healthier you are, the better it is to do this, because we think about doing these things, when crisis hits or when we get a diagnosis. But if we can do it when we're healthy and make concrete decisions when we're not in crisis, we're going to make decisions that are clear and concise. And it can be changed. It's not set in stone. We can go in. They suggest you change it about every 3 years. But, as things change in your life, your advanced care plan can change too.
If you don't do that advanced care planning, what are the impacts? I mean, obviously, emotionally, on family members, and does it go beyond that?
Yeah, it can be really tough on family. It can be super stressful. The weight of them having to guess your wishes and not knowing can last for years for a loved one. Further to that, though, there's a hierarchy. If you don't choose a substitute decision maker and it's not in writing, it will be chosen for you. So it will kind of go down in steps. It will first kind of defer to your spouse, and then your children, your parents perhaps, and then a sibling, and down the line as such, another family member. All else failing, then they will choose a public guardian or a trustee for you. So you don't get to make your choices.
Are we talking just basically about getting your affairs in order, or is that too simplistic?
No, this is really marketed and targeted exactly towards your future healthcare plan and what you want perhaps end of life to look like. So specifically, it goes into, okay, you're going to choose your substitute decision maker and list that. You're going to document what quality of life means to you. It's different for everyone. So some people, not being able to dress themselves anymore is where they draw the line. You're going to incorporate your beliefs, your culture, your spirituality. That's really important for some people. They need their wishes upheld based on their religious views. And then they're going to talk about their wishes for care. So just beyond having a do not resuscitate order and getting your affairs in order, what kind of comfort measures will you use? What matters to you? How aggressive do you want your treatment? How much time do you want to spend treating your disease? And how much time do you want to spend living? Where do you want to have your end-of-life care? Where do you want to go to the hospital? Will you go to long-term care? Are you open to going to hospice? All of those questions.
Now, the Dying with Dignity Canada, if a person were to go to that website, is it laid out and explained sort of mapping, what needs to be done? Because it sounds like there are, various maybe legal professionals or others that you need to contact to make sure, the paperwork is in order?
Absolutely. You can go to our website and download an advanced care plan, and they have kits, and you just fill it out. It's a digital document. You can print it. If you can't print it, you can have the option to have it mailed to you, but everything is on the website. We also have webinars on tools for advanced care planning, and they'll give you some insights. They'll ask you all the right questions to kind of get you thinking about what's important. And certainly it doesn't have to just be on the Dying with Dignity website. If you go to your local funeral home, they'll have all of this accessible to you as well.
If I'm okay to mention your background in your career as a paramedic too, so you've walked it and seen, situations that aren't good, aren't pleasant. Does it bring it home to you even more because of, your career too, how critical it is to make sure the plans are in place?
Absolutely. That's why I do this work. I see this and live and breathe it. The conflict with families and the people having to suffer and go through unnecessary treatments, CPR, all of this work can be violent and aggressive, and we can actually increase suffering in people if we aren't providing appropriate comfort measures and implementing them at earlier stages.
So some of that decision-making process, if you don't have it, it's taken away from you, so to speak, or it's made by other people?
Correct. Both things are true.
Right.
The healthcare system, without proper direction, their goal is to do everything they can. And that's just how our healthcare system works. So unless they're told otherwise, they're gonna go full send and do everything they can.
Do you find, I don't know if you have stats or anything, but is it the norm that people aren't prepared, or they just don't want to have that conversation? Because it's not, it's a reality check, but it's not something we like to talk about, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. We all know we're going to die. We know it's the most sure thing we know. We prepare for everything else in our life, birth, weddings, everything is planned for. Yet the one sure thing we don't plan for, we don't know how to do it. We don't practice it. And oftentimes it's really hidden away because it's uncomfortable in our culture. So when we can have these conversations, they're very valuable. Statistically, about 1 in 10 Canadians have their advanced care plan written down. They've talked about it. Maybe they have their wishes, but only about 1 in 8 in those actually have them written down. So it's uncomfortable. People don't want to talk about it. But when we talk about advanced care planning, we're actually talking about living. We're not talking about dying. We're talking about how we want to live, and we're giving a gift to our loved ones to help them make decisions on our behalf with confidence.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, joined by Ken Siggins, who isn't a household name, but maybe wants to become one again. You're involved with lacrosse in Innisfil Wolfpack, but you're kind of regenerating things after the pandemic. You haven't really been doing anything since then, and you're trying to get it going again.
Yeah, that's true. The club shut down after COVID. Didn't restart again. Pre-COVID, we had 250 families coming out with their children to play lacrosse in Innisfil, and COVID, put a damper on that, and we're trying to get a resurgence again of lacrosse in Innisfil.
Why has it taken so long? Have there been roadblocks since the pandemic, or just trying to get back in gear?
Well, you have to convince the OLA that you're going to be a good management for the club, so it's something long term. Mm-hmm. So right now our big mandate is to build the club back up from the small, young kids, and then we can have a strong club going into the future. So we are starting kids as young as 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so U5 program, U7 program, U9 program, U11, U13. And that's what we're really concentrating on this year, trying to get as many kids out as possible to enjoy the sport.
I can't imagine 3-year-olds running around with lacrosse sticks.
Oh, it's so cute.
Although hockey sticks, we did that when I was a kid. So.
Yeah, it's one of the youngest organized sports you can get into with kids, and it's great. They learn how to play as a team. They have pride in their team and helping out their teammates, learning how to pass, and that's a lot of running, so they get a lot of exercise. It tuckers them out. They go to bed at night.
So is this a house league thing, or is it intercompetitive with other communities?
Well, the U5, U7 is in-house, so it's a house league. And then we have rep teams. So we'll have the U9, U11, U13 traveling rep teams, and we'll play all other centers all around Zone 4 in Ontario, which goes out to Shelburne, up to Aurelia, Midland, Barrie.
And I understand prior to the pandemic, you had some pretty good teams making the rounds.
Yeah, we have. We got into the Stroud Arena, unfortunately, which is closed because of the structure failure. They're rebuilding that, but we had to get in there, and we pulled out all the banners, and there was like 25 banners spanning way back into the 90s. So they've, long history of winning in the Innisfil Club, and the community was pretty proud of their team back then. And at one point, we had a junior team playing. So, we'd like to get back to that type of center and, really have people come out and enjoy the sport.
How are the age groups filling up for you? Because you've got a bit of a deadline, too, I think.
Yeah, the season's going to be starting in May. We're still accepting registrations for everybody. If you've tried for other centers and you didn't make a team in another center that's adjacent to us or close, you can try to register with us and get on our team. We actually we recruited a few really good coaches. We've got a junior B player coaching one of our teams. We also have a gentleman who was 70 years old who played lacrosse in 1973.
Wow.
He is excellent. He's really good with the kids. The kids love him. And he's kind of an old school coach, but the kids, he's working with the U11 kids right now, and they seem to really like him. Any kids that want to come into our center, they're going to be coached properly, and they're going to learn a lot about lacrosse and have a lot of fun.
For the uninitiated, for those with the 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds who've never played, what are they in for? What can they expect?
Well, it's mostly skills and drills at that age, where you teach them how to, pick up the balls, run with the balls. There's not contact per se. Like, it's not. You have to wear a helmet, and you want them to protect themselves because they're running with sticks. But it's not like it's a full contact lacrosse game. And we're teaching them more skills and drills and how to properly play the game. By the time they're done with U7, they can go into the rep program in U9 and be educated with the game and not get injured and have fun, because there is contact as you move up through the rep leagues. So
at the early ages, you talked about the lacrosse stick and a helmet. What other equipment is necessary?
Well, gloves, elbow pads are important. Athletic support, you need that. Usually they'll have rib protectors, chest protectors, and that's more for protecting yourself from getting hit with the stick, right? And the Indian rubber ball can hurt if somebody can throw it hard enough.
Where do you play?
Well,
you mentioned Stroud Arena, but that's
Stroud
out for this
Arena
summer.
is closed for this year, so that's normally the home arena for the Wolfpack. So we're playing down in Lefroy, and out of the IRC, we're going to start in Lefroy, move to the Innisfil Rec Center, And then when they put the ice back in for summer hockey, we're moving back to Lefroy to finish the season. And the season for the rep league is over like the first week in August. That's the Ontario Lacrosse Festival down in Whitby, Oshawa, which is really excellent. It's a lot of fun to go to, and the kids really enjoy that.
So a family who's thinking, oh, this is going to take up the whole summer, can relax because they would have August still left to go.
Oh, yeah. And, we really try to respect the parents' time because other than our soft lacrosse program, which is U5, U7, which is Mondays, everything else we try to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you don't have Fridays or Mondays of long weekends all the way up, right? Other than maybe one or two tournaments throughout the season, your weekends are totally free, right? And it seems to work out well. We enjoy it because we like to go to the cottage as well.
Yeah.
And for parents to be stuck, we have a game Thursday and then Saturday, and then your weekend's ruined in the summer. It's not fun.
If parents are interested in signing up their kids, or their kids are interested in convincing their parents this is a good thing, how do they go about that? Is there a website?
Yeah, we have a website. We have a Facebook page, but go to our website, which is wolfpacklacrosse.ca, and on there's a registration tab, and you can register, and it'll go right to our registrar. And they're pretty on top of that right now, especially this time of the season when we want to get as many kids enrolled as possible. But like I said, if there's kids who didn't make other teams that are adjacent to us, it's really important that those kids get a chance to play. And that's one of the big reasons we wanted this club open. It's for our community, but it's for all children, right? If they give them an opportunity to play the sport, so they have an opportunity to come into Innisfil and play rep lacrosse. For most families, from what I've seen over the years, and we've played in a few centers, my son's played in a few centers, and it's the same in every center we've been in. Everybody's always welcoming, and it's fun. The kids have a great time. The parents seem to get along really well in all the centers. It's there's the rivalries between teams, but there's not animosity.
Right. Yeah. It's fun.
It's fun, and everybody's there to have fun. And it's a really good sport to get your kids in. A lot of exercise, a lot of running, a lot of transferable skills from lacrosse to hockey. Many hockey greats played lacrosse growing up. Wayne Gretzky will even tell you. I
remember Doug Favell, who played goal for the Flyers and the Leafs, and he played lacrosse in the off-season.
Yeah. And actually last night I was out at a training center picking up a lacrosse stick for my son, and I saw Nick Rose, who's the goaltender for the Toronto Rock. Mm-hmm. And he was out helping all the kids in the league with a big goalie clinic, which is really cool. There's a lot of support from the professionals down for our kids.
Again, you want to get the age groups filled up, and you need to get that done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we're really looking for U13, U9, U11s. We'd like to see as many kids come out and register. We have teams now, but we need to fill those teams up. So, like I said, anybody who's available that wants to play lacrosse, they can come register on wolfpacklacrosse.ca.
Ken, thanks so much for dropping by. Thanks for trying to get this going again for the kids especially, and give them something to do over the summertime, and good luck with it.
Yeah, thank you.
Big event coming up in Innisfil, a fundraiser for Gilda's Club at a private estate in Innisfil with a special guest musical artist. Dale and Charlie from Cool FM Mornings got the details from Gilda's J. Mack.
It is the most wonderful time of the year.
Let's sing. It's the most wonderful time. Anyway.
Okay, and the reason is because Gilda's Sunday afternoon is happening June 7th, and this is your marquee event, really, and it's an event that so many people look forward to every year. And we've got some new faces, some new players stepping up in the Gilda's organization this year.
Oh,
and let's introduce Jay Mack. How are you?
I'm great, Charlie. It's so good to be here. So excited.
And you are the event and volunteer manager?
I am.
So your role is to put all this together, so no pressure.
Right.
On you at all.
There's none. Absolutely very little.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Now, this is the 18th annual Sunday afternoon. And first, before we talk about the performer,
who's amazing.
Yes, but we're just going to wait on that just to let people hang on a little longer, and it's going to be worth the wait. What do you have planned already for this Sunday afternoon in support of Gilda's Simcoe Muskoka?
Well, it's at a lovely residence in Innisfil area.
I've heard.
It's just a fun afternoon of just intimate. It's upscale. It's like an experience. It's a total experience. There's like valet parking. There's, you come up. It's like a little bit a red carpet, but not a red carpet because it's grass. You know what I mean? So
And patio.
And
so
patio.
women can wear heels.
Yes.
So that's important, because that can make or break an outfit.
So I'm moving in, by the way.
Okay, that's totally
I
fine.
saw the pool house.
Yeah,
I am
right?
definitely moving in.
Okay, got it, totally. And this is an event where you're supporting an incredible cause. So there's live auctions.
Yes, live
And then
auctions.
the silent
There's
auction?
Silent auction items. I know poor Danielle's just sweating over the phone and working away to get all those prizes and everything together.
And
can we talk about the food that usually shows
that's
up?
where I was going next.
The food, because you get in some of the best local restaurants that show up with their wares.
Yeah, actually, one of the folks is already coming back with the caterer last year with the barbecue and everything. So
yes,
he was,
Food Works by K-Joe?
Yeah, they were the first ones on my dial. I
Yep.
swear to God, I was in the office for my first day and the phone rang saying, hey, when can we cook?
Yeah, and you know what? They are not to be missed. They have become sort of like the staple in Barrie now. Like word has gotten around that
catering.
they can they put on a show, and it's just so incredible. I don't even know how they're going to step it up from stepping it up last year.
Oh, I've forgotten what last year's was. I just know it was good. They could come back and give me the exact same thing.
And
Actually, maybe
do it all over again.
They should probably stop by with samples.
Oh no, they always do. They always do. And this is one of those events again.
We're not in this job just for the
Just
paycheck.
I
right.
know.
It's not for the money. Of course, you must work for a
You
not-for-profit.
have to feed us as well. There is so many wonderful things that come out of Gilda's Club. And, the volunteers. And I think a lot of people still are not entirely sure of what Gilda's Club does, not just for cancer survivors, but also for loved ones. People can literally receive a diagnosis that morning and walk across the street to Gilda's. And that's how powerful this organization is. And so we want to step up and raise as much money as possible. Now, you said something about a trapeze or a lady swinging from something.
It's a great way to serve the first drink.
Okay, so, Dale, you're going to be served a drink by a lady hanging from something.
Okay. Do I need to bring $1, like $20 bill or something like that?
It's not a pole.
Only,
You have to clarify these things for me, Jay.
only for donations. Are you bringing that money, Dale? So tickets now officially on sale?
Officially on sale this morning.
How do we get our tickets?
Gilda's Simcoe Muskoka website. It's really easy to find. If you just type in Gilda Simcoe Muskoka, you'll get it.
Right. Of course, we are going to have the links up as well, as we are proud to be the exclusive media partners. Now, the moment everybody has been patiently waiting for, as I continue to ramble, we have to talk about the
headliner.
Entertainment.
The headliner.
Your
it's
headliner.
important. Yeah,
So
it's
let's
amazing.
talk about what you guys have come up with for the 18th annual Sunday afternoon for Gilda.
Well, I'm extremely excited because actually, in all honesty, Casino Rama was the one that helped us on this one.
Wow.
Yeah, so they helped us navigate this, where they're performing and how we do it, and the best way to make this as intimate as possible. So we actually have Matthew Good. It's a Matthew Good trio, So it's an acoustic, it's intimate, it's right in your face.
And that's amazing because it really is a spectacular moment where you are so close.
Yeah, the space where it's going to be happening. Lends itself.
Yes, and you could touch him. I mean, don't without his permission, but just saying.
Don't need that happening.
Yeah,
man.
no.
I may accidentally drop something in front of him.
I may drop something in front of
See?
him.
I can see you two are going to be a problem that day.
We might be a bit of an issue. But this is for a good cause, and that's what this is about. So we're so excited once again. So when people purchase their tickets, then they find out where the location is.
Yep.
And then, of course, if anybody also wants to donate prizes and sponsor or otherwise, they can reach out, and we will.
All the details are right there. Gilda's Club, SimcoeMuskoka.org.
We continue our series of interviews with winners of Barrie Chamber of Commerce Women in Business Awards, welcoming Nicole Norris from Georgian College today. Welcome to the program.
Hey.
You won the Visionary Award, and I'm reading this here. It says art school graduate, product designer, entrepreneur, and pracademic. That all sounds very visionary, but the pracademic has intrigued me. What's that?
Yeah, no, that's I learned that term when I was in grad school, and it was sort of this idea that, you know, you can have sort of these academics that are working in community and they're practicing. So, yeah, I'm an art school grad, so I've always been very material and tactile. You know, I think my secret wish was always to be just an artist, but I do like the sort of the academic and the research side of it. So, yeah, the pracademic is the collision where you're sort of creating new knowledge, but you're doing it in application. So, yeah, just kind of making. So that's what it is. So I try to say pracademic because at least it turns people's heads and they're like, oh, my God, the academic from Georgian College.
Things that make you go,
Yeah.
Things that make people ask more questions and find out more about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And you're doing it at Georgian College now. What exactly are you leading everybody on with?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Like, what do you do there? So on the official job description, I am the director of social innovation. And then people are like, oh, and then they either walk away or they ask more questions. So social innovation is part of research, innovation, and entrepreneurship at Georgian. We're kind of unique in the college sector that we actually have a department of social innovation. And it's sort of this vision that as the college, our role is to sort of work with community and student training and credentialing and learning in new and interesting and unique ways. And so social innovation, the work I do there is to sort of build up an area of innovation and research for our community and our social sector partners, so like our nonprofits. And, you know, we're facing so many complexities these days with issues like homelessness, food insecurity, racism, all these things. And they're very complex, interconnected problems. And our social sector is probably one of the least funded. They're always struggling. They're always, you know, sort of keeping and patching things together. And so how can we at the college offer an opportunity to help them work on those tough problems? So, you know, they're facing pipeline shortages of talent. You know, they're facing funding shortages. They're facing, you know, they have to do more with less. And, you know, that's sort of a theme right across the board. But when you think about our social fabric, you know, how can we support that? And that's sort of what I do there at Georgian is how do we help from an innovation and a research and a student learning perspective.
As a result of all of that, you are very involved with a lot of community boards and social interactive agencies within the community.
Yeah, so previously, before I sort of really took the reins of this, I spent a lot of time with Dress for Success, the Reaching Home Project. And before I came to Georgian, I had an agency, so my background in design. And what was really interesting is when I took a look at my books, I realized that 60% of the projects we were working on were related to community or social organizations, and probably 40% were our actual kind of corporate clients. And, you know, I kind of was like, you know, we're kind of running a social enterprise, really, because we were really trying to support that. And I actually ended up at Georgian because when I was sitting on the board of Dress for Success, I was asked to go to this event at the Georgian College Aurelia campus. And it was interesting because at the time, I actually didn't even know that Georgian had an Aurelia campus. And I'm like, what? And so this is like, you know, 10 years ago. And I went to this event in the theater and they had sort of social service worker students and child and youth care worker students and early childhood education students. And they were partnered with community partners and they were tackling sort of really interesting issues, and they were applying an innovation lens to it. And I remember sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, right? I hadn't really seen anything like that. And I was sort of at this existential crisis in my company and things. And I'm like, you know what? This would be really fun to do. And then, you know, sort of stars align. And all of a sudden, like, you know, 2 months later, I was sort of working at Georgian. I had, you know, kind of decided to sort of disband the company, found jobs for my staff, you know, moved clients around. And it was just sort of just this wonderful like moment, where the universe is like, yeah.
Come on board.
Come on board.
We have something for you to do.
Yeah, and take a really big leap and take a 24-hour contract that you don't know is going to be renewed each semester and come join us. And it was like the best risk I'd ever taken.
How long ago was that?
I was about 10 years ago,
10 years ago?
Yeah, it'll be 10 years ago this August. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
Now, with government cutbacks and such, do you worry? You did say you never know whether the contract's going to be renewed or not. But in the reality of today, with everything that's going on, do you worry they may cut you next?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that where we are right now with certainly the post-secondary sector, that's both college and university, I think where, priorities are going in some respects, absolutely. I think one of the toughest things that we have been dealing with right now at Georgian Red across the board is, trying to stay in what we can control and what we cannot. So it's definitely an interesting time. And I do know with our staff and us, there's a lot of grief that is happening right now. We know that people are doing the best they can, and our leadership is navigating some pretty complex waters. But yeah, it's a reality.
But you're a visionary, so you probably have, some ideas if they come and say, look, we're not sure we can keep going with this. What do you think? And you've probably got 10 great reasons why it should continue.
Oh, yeah, probably 100. Always, I think in my heart, I think I was born into sort of capitalism, but actually was always had a belief of sort of public education and public services and civil organizations. Do I have a ton of ideas? Absolutely. I think there's lots of people in our organization that do. I think one of the toughest things about being innovative or visionary or however you want to call it in sort of institutions that are large, they're very codified. Like we have a lot of policies and procedures. We report to public entities. I think one of the toughest things is being creative and visionary in those spaces. And, that innovation doesn't happen with technology. It happens through people. It happens through relationships. It happens through, tapping into people's creative mindsets and their passions for what they care about. And yeah, I think we all have, I always say that, the best innovations are not created. They're done through observations of how people are hacking the system. And, when we talk about that in the work we do in community, I always say, there's no community in the city or in the region that faces barriers. So if you're taking, the LGBT group, or you're taking the Black community, or you're taking different communities, they don't really need us to innovate for them. They really need us to get out of the way and reduce the barriers, because how they're hacking the system that wasn't built for them, that's where the innovation is. And I think when we think about that at the post-secondary level, it's the same thing, right?
Do you see politics in your future at any time, bringing all these ideas to that table to try and make things better for everybody?
Wow, no.
Or do you think you can better serve the community doing what you're doing now?
I think, yeah. So that's a really interesting question that you have asked me. Particularly, it's funny that you asked that question, and I've often wondered, what is next for me, just personally. I'm a mom of a teenage boy. I'm just hit my 50s, so there I'm just dating myself. I look at things and I'm like, what? I'm at a point in my career where I've got a ton of knowledge and a ton of experience. And yeah, what do I want to do? Politics? I don't know. I think I swear too much. I don't think I'd be allowed.
I think there's a lot of that going on now anyway.
Would I like to do it? I think if that opportunity opened itself up, I would rather be somebody wing human. With strategy and things like that. But I think there's some really interesting things we're doing with Elizabeth Fry. So this summer, through some research and some teaching, I had an opportunity to spend some time in Sweden. And so I'm doing a PhD over there. And when I was over there, I was able to find a motorcycle, and I rode across Sweden and Norway. And as a result of that, I raised money for Elizabeth Fry in a project that we're working on where, this idea that youth who've experienced barriers, sometimes they may not understand or they may not have the capacity just because of the things that they faced in life, how they transition into sort of post-secondary or meaningful employment. So this work we've been doing with E-Fry around motorcycles and different things, to me, that really has ignited a really interesting passion about how we work with people to get them where they want to be and how they achieve their goals. So I think if you were asking me where I would go next, working on something like that, like using my skills and my gifts and my talents to sort of either bring awareness to things or issues, or, sort of work to sort of help people. I don't know. I think it would be more something like that. That's sort of an ambiguous answer, but just sort of, how can I be in service? How can I offer back what I've learned and my gifts and talents back to do those things or to help others reach their goals? So I don't know what that looks like, but I don't know if it's politics.
Sometimes it's better to work behind the scenes.
Yeah. I like, behind the scenes is good.
Yeah. You sound like you have an awful lot on your plate. What do you do when and if you get some downtime?
Yeah, that's a great conversation. And my partner asks me that all the time. Just come sit on the couch for 5 minutes would be great. So what do I do when I have downtime? Well, now I love reading graphic novels and comic books. So I'm a little bit of a nerd. So I love that. And I've been getting really back into that. The other thing, too, is I used to be a big illustrator, and I'm slowly starting to do that again. But yeah, I think being a mom and working and studies, a lot of that energy is gone there. But the other thing, like I said before, is once the riding season comes, I really love to ride. So just sort of figuring that out again. And I'm sure that any middle-aged woman of my generation is probably resonating with what I'm saying right now. It's like, wait a minute, who am I? And what can I have back? What part of my life can I have back? So, yeah.
Very good. Well, congratulations on the award, and thank you for all the wonderful work that you're doing. Obviously, a well-deserved award, and a lot of people thought the same thing. So good on you, and thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who saw the work and all the other nominees. So it was a wonderful event. So congratulations to them, too.
Joined now by an old friend, a former colleague here in the big house under the COB umbrella, Central Ontario Broadcasting, Rob Daniels, who used to lord over the afternoon show on
It was
Cool FM.
It was the midday show. Yeah, 10
Cool
a.m. to
FM.
3 p.m. here on 107.5 Cool FM. Yeah, great brand, and I think it's a fantastic umbrella of stations: Rock 95, Cool FM, and Barrie 360. So I'm just grateful to be here.
And you've been busy since you left. You were actually busy before you left because this project started then. You've written another book. You had written one, Beyond the Mic, which dealt with some issues you were dealing with.
Yeah.
Beyond. What you did in radio. And this is a follow-up, Being Mindful of Others, the Key to Humanity Uniting. And this is very near and dear and close to your heart.
Yes, it certainly is. And what's interesting is that I actually I wrote half of the book was written in your studio, which is kind of neat here at Barrie 360. So, you had the morning run, and then after I do the midday show on Cool FM, I'd hunker down in your office, which I thought was a fantastic place to do some writing, as I enjoy closing myself off to the world. It's one of those things when you want to create something purposeful, you kind of have to close yourself off at certain times. I liked doing that frequently, and I would be in your office often to try and write it, to come out with this. So
no wonder I couldn't find things the next morning.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Somebody's been sleeping in my bed.
Went missing? No, I know.
All right. Yeah. So what was the thrust behind this?
Well, essentially it came from, twofold, I guess you could say. My own internal pain because of dealing with ongoing chronic pain for the better half of close to a decade now, and from a car accident. And having to manage that every single day with every single step, and with food even, because food can make it worse, certain foods. It's really not a nice condition to humans. It's one of the top 5 worst chronic pains known to the human race, I guess you could call it that. And it's, it's nerve damage, and it's but instead of me complaining about the pain constantly, what can I do with that pain is what is helpful to the brain, I find. Like, if you want to keep the brain active and you want to just not get all conditioned into complaining about the pain, like you're entitled to, and I know people that struggle with pain, and if they need to complain and it helps, then that's okay. But I found for me internally, instead of complaining, obviously on a bad day, I sometimes complain like any normal human would, but what can I do with it that's purposeful, and how can I turn it into something meaningful? And when I saw the world, what was going on in the last 5 to 7 years, starting with COVID, ripping off the Band-Aid to human beings when it came to mental health. Well, I'm sure people were always dealing with mental health issues before that, but really, when we saw what happened then, it really intrigued me to say, hey, well, how can I make a difference here? Instead of seeing all the people ganging up on one another online when it came to their issues and such, like when it was the, they would constantly gang up on one another online. And when it came to, and everybody was their own doctor or other people's doctors, in a sense, they would think they were Mr. Know-It-All all the time throughout COVID, and there was a lot of judgment passed. And I'm someone that I try and stay present without judging others as much as possible. Like, I rarely judge, and I just, if that makes you happy and you're not hurting someone, you be you and I be me, and I'm not, and so that's how I kind of live. But I saw what happened there, and this is more so, it's a book that was really dedicated to all the keyboard warriors in the comment sections, I think, when I see that, and that, because I never engaged in any of that conversation, but I observed constantly. I would see it. I would scroll down my phone. I'm like, wow, we need help. Yeah. We need help. And so that's what this was sort of like. We need to be mindful of one another and know what, and understand that someone else could be going through something that we don't know about. And you might, you may have flipped them off into such a bad direction through a comment in front of others online that they go and decide to hurt themselves or do something further, and we don't know that. And so it's like, why would you do that? If you really wanted to help this person or correct them, you would not do it in front of others unless it's in a normal, casual way, not telling them off or calling them names in front of others. Like, I could see there's ego there.
Well, this is the thing. We have no idea what's going on with anybody else.
Nobody.
Right?
No.
They're struggling. They've got their own issues. They may be really, really happy one day and down in the dumps the next day.
Exactly.
You don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
Yet a lot of people seem to think it's all right to gang up on them.
I know, and it's not.
And this is what you're trying to cut through. 20 fictional stories, but inspired by real-life situations, how to deal with them, how to work around them, how to be nice to people.
Right, exactly. Then to the return of kindness, because we see it's not only the COVID thing that happened, but it seems like it's one thing after the next. So if COVID's not if COVID gets taken over by something else in the news, it becomes the war, and then politics, war and politics. Everybody's ganging up, and it returns again, and it turns into a religious thing, and we see this across the streets, people ganging up, whose flag is better than whose, and I'm not here for that. I'm here for, like, how do we unite humanity again? And I don't really care who you cheer for or whatever and what flag, everybody's entitled to their own flag, but does that unite humanity? When I see that on the news, people waving flags across the street from each other and they're not together. I understand if it's a soccer match or it's like the World Cup or the World Series and you're cheering for your favorite team, but this makes us further and further apart, what I see out there. And I'm just tried to do my part over 4 years of trying to bring us back together through my own internal pain and trying to bring it into the world by creating meaningful purpose.
20 stories here, and they all mean something. Is there one that stands out more for you that you can give us a encapsulated version of?
I think, and I do struggle with this at times. I try to keep it at bay. It's not easy for me. There is some OCD, or if I'm getting vulnerable here, some OCD in my world where and this could be some COVID relation to it. Not always. It's just more so I've had it, but COVID amplified it at times with the extra hand washing, the extra washing. I once spoke to a therapist before who told me he had a client who unfortunately she used to shower and would use like an entire soap bar through her shower.
Oh, wow.
That's how the OCD was getting to her. I thankfully wasn't at that. I do some extras, and trying to like stop the compulsion is difficult on certain days. And I wrote a chapter about OCD, about showering, about how if you live in a busy household, to double. Sometimes I don't want people to walk on eggshells when they're in their households, but really do some deep thinking. If you can, it's really an internal battle for everybody. Some deep thinking before you start hammering on the door of, like, if you have 3 or 4 brothers and sisters in your household and they're taking, 15 or 20 minutes in the bathroom, sometimes we don't see what's going on there. Mm-hmm. And that could be the OCD that's playing there. Instead of banging on the door and yelling at them that they take 10 years or that they are, a diva queen or whatnot because they take 10 years to shower, but we don't know what's going on behind those closed doors, and it could be OCD at play.
Good on you for opening our eyes, because a lot of people hold all of this inside, and not that you're throwing it out there and wanting everybody to pick it up, but it lets us know that none of us is immune to this kind of thing. We've all got something going on.
We've all got something.
And here's a way to maybe help you get through that, or help somebody else understand that you can't do that to that person,
right,
or you shouldn't do that to that person. You have a personal appearance coming up in Barrie.
Indigo, which is the Barrie South location, Mapleview Drive, and so right there at 400 in Mapleview. And that'll be on April the 30th. It'll be from 6:30 to 8 p.m., and it'll be hosted by Ben Davey, who is the play-by-play guy for the Barrie Bay Cats. So I thought to keep the local connection there, and he's a good pal of mine with through baseball, and is a champion for mental health himself, and thought we could get together and make some meaningful purpose with this by having a great conversation around mental health, around the book, but not just the book, but what can we learn from it. Again, the self-awareness, the importance of that, the importance, of course, of what we discussed, awareness of others and what they might be going through. They could have just been breaking down at a psychologist session 5 minutes before they hopped online to see what's the latest with the war, and you're starting to, jab at them with your opinion. So if you don't need to do that, if you keep in mind the awareness of others. So that's, comes with compassion and empathy. So we're going to have that meaningful discussion. So I invite people to come out, and I know it's not comfortable, but to try and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, that you could just, be vulnerable, and I don't want anyone to feel judged at these book nights. It's all about also mindfulness. So mindfulness is, paying attention to the present moment without, judging. And that's the root of it. We can also live in mindfulness where we appreciate the birds singing in the morning, and we go for a walk and we appreciate nature, and that's mindfulness. And those 4 discussions will be about mindfulness, the importance of mindfulness, self-awareness, awareness of others, and how we can turn our pain into purpose.
The date again is?
April the 30th, and that's at Indigo Barrie South. I hope to see you. Please come out, and we'll make it a meaningful evening together, 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Rob, thanks so much for dropping by.
Thanks so much for having me, Dan.
Good to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, as well as Dale and Charlie from Cool FM Mornings, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.